right, and good evening to all of our viewers in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. Here's a look at the forecast that we've got for tonight and into tomorrow. Now, we are still watching a chance for maybe a couple of pop-up thunderstorms in parts of the area, mostly to the north for the remainder of parts of this evening. That activity should be wrapping up by the time we get closer to midnight tonight. Not everyone's going to see that activity, but, a couple areas could see some thunderstorms, but it's one of those things where some of us may see some activity, and then the majority of the area should remain pretty dry. So we'll keep an eye on the radar, but right now, not a whole lot of activity is expected today. Here's a look at what we got for the remainder of tonight into tomorrow morning. Lows a little bit warmer into the upper 60s, lower 70s, pretty much area wide as we start the day tomorrow. And then here's a look at what we've got in terms of the overall forecast as we head into tomorrow afternoon. Highs are going to be back into the 90s pretty much area-wide tomorrow. Now, there may be a couple areas, including northwest Arkansas, that see a couple of upper 80s. But for the most part, it's going to be warmer tomorrow than it's been the last several days. Now, it's been warm and humid, but now the actual air temperature is going to be back into the 90s pretty much for all of the coverage area, minus a handful of locations. So, warm day expected tomorrow, and that leads us into maybe the potential for some strong to severe storms again tomorrow. Now, before we get into that, here's a look at the risk for the remainder of this evening. Again, not everyone's going to see strong to severe storms. Not everyone's going to see storms in general. A couple pop-ups, and we'll show you that with future scan radar here in just a minute will be possible. But other than that, we're just expecting only a handful of storms, nothing more. And then here's a look at what we got with the rain chances for the remainder of this evening and tonight. And you can see it's a little bit greater coverage into southwest Missouri, far northern portions of the coverage area. Not everyone's going to see storms. Future scan's been pretty locked on throughout the day today that we're going to see some isolated cells develop pretty much in these northern areas you see highlighted here. They're not going to last super long, but some of us in parts of Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas may need to keep an eye on the radar for maybe one or two storms in our neck of the woods. But not everyone's going to see that activity. We'll keep an eye on it. Not everyone's going to see rain chances, but like I said, if you got evening plans, just keep an eye on the radar from time to time. This activity should wrap up by the time we get to around midnight. If we do see activity develop in parts of the area, some of us could see a couple tenths of an inch of rain, but we're not expecting, the widespread 3 to 4 inch rain totals. I think highest totals would be closer to an inch, but relatively, generally speaking, we're only talking a couple tenths of an inch to maybe a half an inch in terms of the rainfall with activity tonight. Now, here's a look at future scan radar, and here's the activity that I've been talking about. Notice by the time we get to 8 o'clock, a couple of those scattered showers will be possible. And then as it makes its way into the evening, overnight, that activity wraps up pretty quickly. And then here's a look at what we got for tomorrow. We'll need to keep an eye on this activity for tomorrow night in southwest Missouri. The question is it going to maintain its strength as it makes its way further to the south? If it does, it'll have the capability for maybe some storms that could produce some hail, maybe some wind, and an isolated tornado or two. We're not expecting widespread severe weather tomorrow, but as we show you with the future scan radar and then the risk for tomorrow, there's going to be a medium risk for some of our southwest Missouri coverage areas, and so we'll need to keep an eye on that forecast. But again, it's going to be one of those evenings where we have to watch, is it going to hold together by the time it makes its way into southwest Missouri, maybe closer to northwest Arkansas as well? Is it going to fall apart by then? Is it going to move through and not be strong? That type of deal. I think that's what we're going to be dealing with for tomorrow. Here's a look at the severe weather risk. Same thing. Mostly low-end risk for kind of the same areas that are under the same risk tonight. And then, if you go further to the north, there is going to be that slight area of medium risk that pops up on the map as well. And again, there's a greater severe weather risk well off to the north and east of our coverage area. But as those storms make their way further to the south, we'll have to eventually see, do they hold together? Are they going to make their way to the area and be strong? Are they going to weaken and not really be an issue? That type of thing. So we'll keep an eye on it. But moral of the story is tomorrow evening, if you have any sort of plans in southwest Missouri, maybe keep an eye on the forecast and tune in tomorrow. We'll have the latest information as well. Here's a look at what we got for Thursday. Now, Thursday, we have another widespread low-end risk for pretty much the entirety of the coverage area. And it's one of those things where not everyone's going to see severe weather, but we've got some rain chances that are returning that are a little bit more widespread. Some storms may be capable of maybe some hail, maybe some gusty winds. And then, there's a low, but not zero tornado risk as well. It's not the highest risk of all the risks that we have, but we'll need to keep an eye on all of those probabilities just in case. And that's why we're here. we're going to keep an eye on all of that activity. So again, severe weather risk for tonight, it's low. Tomorrow's risk is also low. We're keeping an eye on it. The further north you get, the risk gets a little bit greater. And then on Thursday, we have another low-end risk to keep an eye on. So not the highest risk that we've seen. Not everyone's going to see severe storms between now and Thursday. But just keep an eye on the forecast here the next couple of days. We'll let you know the very latest. Right now, for the majority of the day, that's why there's no thunderstorm icon for tomorrow in northwest Arkansas. We should remain dry. And then by the time we get later into the afternoon and evening, maybe 1 or 2 pop-ups. That's why the 30% is there. And then we'll need to keep an eye on that later tomorrow night. If activity's able to kind of make its way into portions of the area, we'll keep an eye on that activity. And then Thursday, more rain and storm chances. That continues pretty much for the foreseeable future. So once again, unfortunately, we're entering a pattern where we're going to have daily rain and storm chances between basically tomorrow night all the way through portions of your Tuesday. Now, not every day is going to be a complete washout, but it's one of those things where I just want you to stay tuned to the forecast just in case the next several days, if you have those outdoor plans, because I know it's summer. People are getting excited to be outside, enjoy some of the summer weather. And also, probably trying to get out there when these temperatures are not as warm as they should be for this time of year. So, moral of the story, not every day is going to be a washout, but I want you to keep an eye on the forecast if you have any sort of plans as we head into the weekend, because we do have a chance for some rain and storms pretty much between, coming up tomorrow all the way into early next week. But it's going to be one of those things where we have to take it a day at a time. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. That's a look at what we got for that forecast. Tune in tomorrow. We'll have more coming up. If you like our media and forecast, be sure to support us today on Patreon. You can advertise with us this storm season and throughout the year. Contact us today for availability and pricing. Weather 225 since 2015.